Hello Politics 1A. This is a brief description of your TUT 6 exam preparation activity that you had to complete for this week, week 12's tutorials, and it counted for attendance marks. So the exam in June will be a take-home exam where you'll have to answer essay questions. I will explain more about this in due course, so look out for announcements and videos from me. Look at this example question below. How would you go about answering it? Write down a few points on how you would answer it and share these online in your online chat with your colleagues and tutor. So this is the question. Power tends to corrupt, and absolute power corrupts absolutely. This was said by Lord Acton. Now guys, the first thing you have to do is think, where have I seen this quote before? Read the quote. You should know immediately that it comes from the section on Is Politics Broken, right? From theme 9. So that will help you immediately to guide where you have to find your answer, because you know that it comes from theme 9. Consider the above quote and then answer the following question. Discuss the 5 reasons covered in the module why the general public have come to hate politics. In your answer, also mention 2 ways also covered in the module in which we can mend politics. So how do you go about answering this? The first thing you have to see is that there are 2 parts to this question. The first one asks you to discuss the 5 reasons covered in the module why the public hate politics. So there's 5 reasons. Don't leave out any. Don't discuss 2 or 3. Discuss all 5. I've also said those covered in the module. So you can't make it up, everybody. You must refer to the content covered in the module. Now I suggest you go to your slides first and then build further from the prescribed texts. So if you want to think of it this way, the slides are like your skeleton and then the textbooks are like the flesh, and you build out the skeleton with the flesh by looking at the texts. That's the first part. You also have a second part to your question, mentioning 2 ways also covered in the module in which we can mend politics. So you only mention 2, not all of them, and you're only supposed to mention them, so no need to explain in detail at all. So there are important points here around descriptive words, guys. Here, you're asked to discuss the 5 reasons, so you need to discuss quite a few things about these. Whereas in the second part, you're only asked to mention them, so this requires only a couple of sentences. You're not supposed to discuss them in depth at all. So it's very important that you look at all parts of your question so that you answer all parts of your question. Otherwise, you'll lose out on valuable marks. Now remember, this is not like a normal essay answer, so there's no need for you to write an introduction or a conclusion. Don't waste space on it. This is an exam essay answer, so I want you to get to the point as fast as possible. Okay, get to it, don't waste time. How do you know how to structure it? Look at the mark allocation for the question and the word count. It'll help you to judge how much detail you should add. For example, is it out of 20 marks? Is it out of 30 marks? Is there a word count even? Look at all of these details when you see it in the exam, and it'll help to guide you on how much time you should spend on answering the question. Another good idea is to underline key parts of the question to make sure you don't leave important bits out. Here below are my slides for this theme's question. So what you should do is go to these slides first, because they'll guide you on answering the question. But remember to go back to the textbook, because the textbook is the flesh, remember, for your skeleton. So you can't just give me these slides in the exam, because you won't get enough marks for this. These are my key points, but you must explain what these things mean. You cannot just give me bullet points or these points back in an exam. You must explain in paragraphs, in an essay format, what each of these things mean, everybody. This is very important for the exam. I'll tell everyone this again in the exam prep doc that I send out, okay? This last part, mending politics, I've just mentioned these 4 points because you're only supposed to mention them, so you're only required to give a couple of sentences on each of these points, whereas the above ones require you to discuss them, so you need a little bit more in-depth discussion for these 5 points. So if you did all of the above, then you prepared well for your TUT 6 exam activity.